Hi, I'm Dr. G. I'm a clinical psychologist with specialty in couples and sex therapy. My friends at Celebrating Act 2 have asked me to talk about a few relationship problems for people over 50. So here today, I am choosing this topic about I'm dating again and my kids don't accept my new boyfriend or girlfriend. I don't want to lose either. So what do we do in this situation? I think the core issue here is really what we call boundaries on the one hand and communication on the other hand. So let's look at kind of the details of this. When you are dating, and certainly you have your kids with your past history and relationships with them, and then a new person comes into the picture, it upsets the system, the family system. It upsets the status quo, the way things are. And what we need to do in this type of situation is certainly we have to communicate, focus on how we can really meet everybody's, let's say, goals and expectations, and in order to have a balanced life between these types of relationships, both with a significant other that is new to the whole system, as well as the kids that have been there for many, many years. But in order to do so, what we need to keep in mind is that boundaries are the utmost important focus that we have to actually also communicate to everyone. Meaning, we have to ask each person that is interested in having a relationship with us to respect those boundaries rather than being all over the place. Kids certainly have a mindset that they have been there forever, more or less, in this type of a relationship with their parents, as long as they remember. So they may feel entitled. They may feel a close relationship that they think may be threatened by the newcomer to this system. And that's natural. That's okay, that people feel a little bit threatened and uncertain. What is going to happen? How is this new person going to affect our parent? However, when we bring up the notion of boundary, we make it clear to them, too, both the kids as well as a discussion that needs to be had with a significant other, that they need to be able to separate these relationships on their own. In their own psyche, our children need to realize that their relationship is separate from the relationship that their parent has with another person in their life. As soon as we can start thinking about these separate entities and separate relationships, we are actually on the right track addressing boundaries. Because really, what are boundaries? Boundaries are kind of delineation marks or lines or zones between two different entities or two different areas. In this case, two different relationships. So when we think about separate relationships, we immediately are respecting boundaries. And that's the right mindset to have in order to really have a better communication about their expectations and goals. And that would be the second suggestion that I have, that to have, to be able to keep these individuals, whether the kids or significant other, the main energy has to be, spent on communicating to them on a continual basis about those boundaries, about those wishes, desires, and within their own region. So some discussion that can be had with the kids is to refocus them on their needs and expectations that relate to the parent, separate from the spouse or the partner. And vice versa. If you are talking to your new significant other, the discussions about the needs, desires, expectations, they need to be contained and confined to that relationship between you and your new partner, and separate from anything that really more or less affects the children. and now, that doesn't mean that we cannot discuss and talk about one another. We can, however, we have to be able to do so respectfully. A lot of times what I bring up in terms of what works in communication and what doesn't work is the notion of dialogue versus debate. Most people engage in debates and arguments, and that's why things don't work. That's why they don't get to an understanding and an agreement and more or less meeting of the minds and a peaceful outcome. Not because everything else is wrong. It's mostly the process of communication that is erroneous, that is kind of broken actually, and focusing too much on debating and arguing versus having a dialogue. If you have any questions about how to engage in a dialogue versus debate and argument in order to be able to have a respectful conversation about boundaries, I'd be glad to talk more about it. You can contact me directly. I would certainly be happy to answer any questions that you have. I hope this was helpful to you, and looking forward to your comments.